She was exceedingly appreciative.
We had a good working relationship. My dad was like, "That's not how I do things." I'm like, "Okay."
We're glad you are all here. Before we start our meeting, Councilmember Bolden is going to offer a word of prayer.
Let us bow for a moment. Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and support as we begin this meeting. Help us to engage in meaningful discussions, allow us to grow closer as a group, and nurture the bonds of community. Fill us with your grace as we make decisions that might affect the citizens of Nacogdoches. Let the work done here today come to fruitions. Let it all be for your glory. Help us to each other, our parts to bring the plans discussed to life. Amen.
Thank you. I will now call our special meeting to order for September 10th, 2019. The first item on our agenda is to consider selection of a firm to perform executive search and recruiting services for position of city manager. Mr. Pearl, good afternoon.
Mayor, Council, Stephen Pearl, Human Resources Director. Good afternoon. Last council meeting, you all asked me to reach out to SGR to see if they had a recruiter who was available, who was a retired city manager and had some East Texas ties, and they did. So they recommended Mr. Bob Turner. Mr. Turner is a retired city manager, and he has over 30 years of experience, municipal experience, with the city of Tyler, and also was down south, Port Lavaca, I believe, for a few years as well. And with that, I will just introduce him and let him give a presentation, and then y'all could have a question and answer or whatever discussion y'all would like with him.
Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Turner. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you all. Good to meet you. Good to see you, and good to re-meet some of you that we visited somewhere along our past. Some of you all are so young, there's no way I bumped into you at TML in my earlier career, but some of you who have that either none or the aging hair, we've crossed some paths, so I appreciate it. I guess what we'll do is we'll just go slide by slide. I'll tell you a little bit about our company, and then be happy to answer any questions or however we're supposed to work on the question and answer period. We are Strategic Government Resources, and we've got our home offices in Keller, and my office is in Tyler, and we've got of all the cities that we have and all the different states that we are in, our CEO and president allows us to operate in our home as long as we can get the job done and get to the cities we need that we're representing. He's got no problem with that. So we're in about 8 different states, and we've got 18 different satellite offices. So our satellite office in Tyler, I'm the Senior Vice President there. A little bit of background about SGR. We're here to help local governments just like Nacogdoches, and finding an applicant is not going to be that difficult for Nacogdoches. I can tell you right now, we're going to have, I'd be shocked if we didn't have 40 to 50 applicants for this job. This is a great job. It's a plum in East Texas and would be really one that's going to have a lot of interest in the job. But finding the right person is what we really want to do. So we could find an applicant for the city, and we could place a manager in Nacogdoches without any difficulty at all, but we want to find the right manager for Nacogdoches, and that's where we'll have the challenge will be through the process itself, and I'll explain everything that we will be doing during that process, and we'll be interviewing each and every applicant. I personally talk and visit with all of them. I review every resume, every cover letter, and then as the process unfolds and we select semifinalists and then get down to finalists, we do background searches on every one of those, and we do a very in-depth background search. In fact, your police department probably would really appreciate our level 2 media search that we do on when we get to that point. So we'll do a complete search on everybody. Founded in 1999, our president and CEO is Ron Holyfield, and some of you may know that name with SGR. He's a previous city manager and formed the company and to help cities do just this. We do more than just find managers. We also we do a various range and find a lot of different positions for different cities. But this is the one that I enjoy. And in fact, I usually turn down other jobs. I just like recruiting managers because I know the business, and I like most of the managers that apply. I'll know half of the ones that will apply for the job, especially in East Texas. And then I'm going to go cherry pick some, tell them you need to apply for this job. It's a great job. So, but I like doing that kind of thing, especially in East Texas. So we do a lot of business, but I specialize specifically in city managers. Our core values, and let me just jump right to the center there. We operate totally on the golden rule. We are going to do only for others what we would appreciate others doing for us. And I can appreciate that as a past city manager, knowing what it was like when you're looking for a job or maybe being recruited. I fully understand, and so we're going to treat everybody with the utmost of respect. Our core values are integrity, and we're going to maintain that. We're totally transparent. We have nothing to hide and at any point. And oh, I just noticed that. That's a lot better for me. Gosh, thank you. Well, I didn't say I was a smart city manager. I just said I was a long-tenured city manager. Anyway, so the thing to focus on there would just be the golden rule. We're going to do everything just the way it should be done. And we're a full-service firm, as I mentioned. We will recruit for a lot of different positions, but this one is the one that I'm specializing in, and this is the one that we'll be talking about. There's 5 keys to a successful search. First is the understanding of the unique culture, the needs, and the desires of this organization and community. We'll get that if we get the job. The first thing we'll do, and Mayor, what I would do is I would have you give me some name as my contact person. If you'd like for it to be you or one of the council, that's fine. Sometimes it's best because of the volume of material involved if I work with somebody else, maybe either Stephen or somebody, whoever you would say. But I'll send them a brochure, and it'll ask a lot of questions about the city itself, City of Nacogdoches, and then we'll fine-tune all of that to make all the information that we'll have from that document. We'll put it into a brochure. You all will have an opportunity to review it, check it off, say yes, this is what we want, or let's tweak this, or no, we don't want that. So we'll make the brochure just exactly the way you want it to look. We've got a media expert. One of the things that we've got that other recruiting firms don't have is we have a full-time media person on staff, and that is all they do is our media relations. And so she does all the brochures, and they come out looking really good. When you've got something going in to offer, like the oldest town in Texas, that's got to pop up right at the top. You know, those are the kind of things that a lot of people are going to want to see. So she's got a great way of making things come right off that page in 3D, even though you're looking at it in one dimension. So she'll do a great job. The talent that we've got in our marketing, we reach national candidate pool in a way that not just there's a lot of firms that are going to reach candidates, but we reach a lot of candidates, and I'm going to show you a slide in just a second that's going to show you just how much we impact. In fact, some of you may have already seen that, just how big our range is and how far-reaching we are. Our vetting, we want to make sure that, and of course you will not have a surprise, because when I bring somebody to you, I'm going to already have grilled them pretty hard. If there's something in their past, I'm going to make sure that I'm not going to say they can't have an opportunity to explain it, but they're certainly going to have an opportunity to talk to me about it before they come talk to you about it. And I know what councils are looking for in a good manager, and I'm not going to bring somebody to you that's bringing baggage into Nacogdoches. If there's anything you guys don't want here in the city, it's somebody's coming in and they've got baggage, or they get on the job and suddenly you find out, oh man, I didn't know you had that, 14Y. That's just but you don't want to find out something bad about somebody coming into Nacogdoches. So we'll do all of that deep dive on all the candidates before they get to you all. We want the candidates to also understand the city and the organization, and that's one of the things, if they don't already know about Nacogdoches, that's one of the things that I'll help them understand fully, and that is the city itself, and we'll get all that by the information that we'll get from you all when we put the brochure together. And then finally, we want a process that's going to be what we call smooth and seamless and completely transparent. We don't want anything where anybody's confused. I certainly don't want the council confused, and I certainly don't want the applicants confused, because confusion on their part is just going to lead to problems on down the road they misunderstood something, or they thought one thing was said and another thing was said. So we'll make sure that does not happen. This is our media, and I love this slide. In fact, when I saw this the first time, I sent a note to our media expert, and I told her, I said, this is the first time I've seen this slide in one of our presentations. I told her, I said, keep that in. That one slide tells just about everything. I know it's hard to see on the screen, but if you've got the document in front of you, it's a little bit easier. It tells you a little bit about all the statistics, the number of people who are looking, and the number of people, almost 4 out of 5 people are looking to the media for a job search, which is pretty impressive. That a lot of people, well, a lot of word of mouth and things of that nature, but many people are going to the medias to find out exactly what's going on. We hit. The good thing about this is I love saying things like Twitter and Pinterest and all that. I had to go look all that up because I'm old school. Everybody told me stuff. In fact, anytime if a clicker didn't work in my office, I just called IT to come fix it. I did not know how to do anything, which hurt me later on in life when something goes wrong and you're trying to fix your computer, and I had to go get my 6-year-old grandson to come fix it for me. Those are the kind of things that you don't know. But those are the kind of things that our media person does, and when we put the job out on our website, it will go on to all 5 of our media outlets, and it will be seen by everybody that's on access to our online status. What you're going to see too is on this next slide on our direct outreach in our 10 and 10 magazine that we've got. 65% of the people who will become semifinalists for this position are going to be reached on direct outreach from our SGR's sources. Another 15% of them are going to be the national trade advertisements and websites, 10% each on the state trade advertisements and all other sources. So we're going to hit a lot of different locations, a lot of different people. This is the slide I wanted you all to see most, though. On our recognition, we're actively engaged in local government operations. All of the folks like me, the recruiters, are either past city managers or have been managing in some city doing some function all of their careers. And we know our business, and that's one of the things, that's why Ron likes to have the retired old guys. He said one thing I can say about it, he said, I can't say a lot about what you may not know, but I know what you do know, and that's one thing we know. We know city government. Ron and SGR, we've got over 50,000 mail subscribers to our weekly 10 and 10 update. The 10 and 10 update will start sending you guys right away. In fact, I don't know if you already get it or not, Steve. Okay. Some employees may already get it, through the website if you've had any contact with SGR in the past. But it's a wonderful brochure. I mean, it tells you so many things, the things going on in the industry and going on with the various jobs. We post the jobs on our site. So 50,000 email subscribers. We've also got 4,000 city, county, and town management officials that subscribe to our website. So we're hitting a lot of different people. And our job board, in fact, we're the second largest local government job board in the nation, right behind the national government. So that's pretty good. We've got 15,000 visits each month and over 1,600 jobs listed at any one time. So you think, well, gosh, is our job going to get lost? I'll assure you, your job will not get lost because of if you've ever seen one of our 10 and 10s, we title it right off on the side and we highlight it and post it. And our first posting will be exclusively about Nacogdoches. So you guys get a lot of publicity and a lot of notoriety. And of course, I really have a very large mouth on the city that are my clients, and I just love talking about those cities. So every ETCMA I'll be mentioning in this job, and so that's bringing more folks also. The project methodology, this is how we do it. Our typical search timeline is about 12 weeks. Very rarely will it go shorter than that, and most often it will go longer than that. This could go a week or so longer because of holidays. We're coming into, and I'm not going to say you're going to be dragging into Thanksgiving and Christmas, but I'm saying that from time to time there's always something going on. By the time fall gets here with October and you start getting into the middle of November, and people start making plans for families coming in or them going out. So it could add another week or so to it. We'll expedite this search as quickly as you all want to get it expedited. Sometimes and we'll do a timeline for you all if you all want us to do the job. We'll do a timeline, send it to you, and we'll check off the times that I will be back in Nacogdoches making a presentation on the various things for semifinalists and then finalist selection. Those dates I'll try to coincide with, and it's not my schedule, it will be your schedule. I want to come in at a time that is convenient for you all. And I'm retired. I can come in anytime y'all need me to, but you all have other things to do besides city government. And so I try to respect your work loads. And so you'll tell me the day. If you wanted to come in before a council meeting, since all of you will be here, that's fine. If you would like me to come in and meet after the council meeting, I can stay as late as possible. I'm not that far up the road. I can get home very quickly. So I can stay after council meeting. If you want to do a special call, that's fine. You all will tell me when you would like to do the job, and we'll do it that way. But our methodology itself, we go through the first thing we're going to do is we're going to send out the information and post it, let everybody know what's going on, and then we'll start getting the applications in. I'll review all the applications. I will rank each and every one of those applications. And then I'll go through the rankings, and what I'm looking for is those that have got a lot of after we built the brochure, we're going to look for those that have a lot of experience as either city managers or a lot of experience doing the things that you all are looking for specifically in your city manager. And then how many years experience do they have? What have their jobs been in the past? I'll look at all of that on each applicant. And I can tell you right now that you're going to get some applicants, and whether it'll be local or non-local, there's going to be some applicants that are going to feel like because they are managing a small little mom and pop store over here, or perhaps a food chain, hamburger food chain, if they're managing that, they can just step right into Nacogdoches and manage your city because they're a manager. And I'm telling you right now, as hard as this might sound, that is not the case, that you can't do that. I don't care how good you are, you just can't step in and do that. So we're looking for a special person, but we don't deny anybody an opportunity to apply. And so, every application I'll review, and some you have to just let down gently when you tell them that this isn't the right job. Maybe somewhere else down the road or a smaller city, but not this one as a first start. So I'll look at all those applications. We'll do the rankings on each individual. I'll then, when we get through with that, we'll send off the information. I'll be back down in Nacogdoches. We would review all the applications to narrow that down to semifinalists. Once we do the semifinalists, we'll go back to work and get the media search on each and every one of the semifinalists. I'll be back down to Nacogdoches with the update on that. The semifinalists will narrow that down to finalists. From there, then we do a stage 2 media search, which is a total deep dive. That's the one where we get everything they've ever done, owned, bought, lived, and everything about all your applicants, because you want to find that before you hire them, not after. So we'll do all that information, and from there then we come back, and there's a lot of other little things that we'll do in there, and you all will know what we're doing all along the way, but some of that stuff's going to be online interviews. I always like those because it gives council an opportunity to see how somebody's going to present themselves. Someone might look great on paper, but if they can't stand in front of a group of people and make a presentation, then you might think you need a little bit more practice. And so we'll make sure that you guys have an opportunity to view all of those applicants online interviews. But that'll be at the semifinalist stage. There'll only be 6 to 8 at that point. It's not like we're going to go through a long list, and we'll have about 4 questions that we'll ask them. After that, we'll come down, we'll select the finalists, and from there, then we'll set a time to bring them either in, either 3, 4, 2, 1, whatever it is. We'll bring the semifinalists in, and then you all do your personal interviews at that time. But I'll be here through the whole process with you and the applicant the whole time. All right. The blind survey that we do, we conducted, and this was something that Ron did. He sends out a blind survey, and you'll be happy to know that we received the highest overall rating and the highest ratings for each specific measure of quality. So One of the things that Ron prides himself on, and that is he wants to make sure that this company is doing everything to the best possible level for our client cities. And so he's very keen on this. He's not shy about calling us in and letting us know, got a bad report on you from a client. Now, I haven't personally received one of those, but I'm just saying he doesn't mind doing that. And so he wants the organization to represent our clients to the best possible level and be professional. And so we know what he wants, and we make sure that's what we're going to give to him. But we got the highest rating in the levels of understanding city management and understanding your profession. That's one of the things that we do. And networking. We try to stay involved. He likes us to stay involved with, Councilman Bolden and I had talked about TML. He likes us to be at TML. In fact, if any of you will be there in the next few weeks, well, I'll probably see you there. We'll have a booth there, so I'll see you there. So, but we stay involved, and then we run a high-quality operation. So, all right. So, appreciate you considering us as one of the recruiters that you might be looking at, and I'd be happy to, in the order that you want me to, Mayor, I'd be happy to answer the questions. If you take them from the citizens first, then I'll defer, and then I'll be happy to answer the questions.
Thank you.
Yes,
Not a
ma'am.
problem at all.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anyone here that would like to make a comment about the presentation? Okay. Having none?
Okay.
Go ahead, and council. Questions for Mr. Tate?
Sure. So I'm curious, outside of like a moral failure, what would be the type of baggage that would be a disqualification outright? I mean, is it a competency? Seriously though, like, is it a competency issue, or like outside of having the 14 wives you mentioned?
Yeah.
What would cause you to say,
That's great. Sometimes we're looking, and they don't always represent themselves totally truthfully on the resume. And here's how you get by. When you've seen enough of these, you recognize pretty quickly, I know what's going on. If one of the things we'll ask them in the first job, we ask them, we've got 12 questions that we ask the applicants. They have to fill out an application, they fill out a cover letter, and they have to fill out the form, the questionnaire form that we give to them. In one of these questions, the first question is, are you currently employed? If they say yes, then I have to assume that means you're currently employed in the first job on your resume. So when I'm looking at the resume and I see where they were a city manager up through 2018, that doesn't jive with the answer. So then I look down at the next thing they're employed at, and that is they are a self-employed consultant. So they are employed, but they're not employed with the city anymore, so then I have to go find out what happened at the city. And I got to tell you, you don't get marks off for being fired by a council in my profession with me. Probably you won't with any other manager. The reason being, we can't help it if the majority of council don't like us anymore. It's not necessarily because we're doing a bad job. They just say, you know what, my brother-in-law wants to be a manager, and I'm going to let him be a manager, and so you're out the door. That's pretty harsh. But I'm saying some of the reasons that managers are let go, you think, we should have thought that one through, you know. But now there's times when it's appropriate. But so being terminated isn't a negative, necessarily a deterrent in my book. But when I find out why they were fired, sometimes it will be. I've got one of those applicants that's he applies for every one of my jobs, and then one of the other things that applicants don't realize is there's 18 of us that are doing this recruiting. And so when one of us sees a name, we've got a little red line that comes up by all of our applicants' names. When you click on it, it shows duplicate applications. So I can call another recruiter and say, hey, I've got XYZ recruiting for my job here. I see where you had him in your job. What's going on? And I get a lot of information. We have one person that'll apply for almost every job, and you know, when you call him up, I won't even bring you the name, but when you call it up, it's a mug shot, and it looks terrible, and as most of those always do, and he just had a problem in his city with his police chief writing tickets, where you tell them to go get more tickets than they really should be writing. So anyway, that was a problem with him. We find those kind of things out. So you're right, short of just something totally egregious in moral character, we find other little things that would prevent me from bringing them to you as an applicant.
And you mentioned having a national presence. I like that. I'm curious what your experience is, specifically in East Texas. It's a different place, a wonderful different place, but a different place from the Northeast or from the West Coast. Is that super relevant, or would you say 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, it's going to be somewhere within Texas that's going to have probably better, not better stock, but a better fit societally?
Yeah, I'd say 7 out of 10.
7,
at
okay,
least,
that's
at least.
I'm
And
writing that
no,
down.
I'm telling you, and let me tell you why. It's important. There are a lot of good managers that come from out of state. And there's nothing wrong with bringing in a manager from out of state. One thing I like about Texans, and especially East Texans, you understand the climate, you understand the people. You know, we say y'all and yes ma'am and no ma'am, and we like to eat out at the country store. We just do things a little different in East Texas. And Texans understand, the good thing about a Texas manager is he's going to understand Texas law. Now, you can understand the law in your state. You can understand what's going on in your respective state with the law, but some of the things that are going on right now, especially right now down in the legislature, if you don't come in with a pretty good handle on what's going on, your cities are going to wind up in trouble, because there's a lot of things going on, and the manager needs to come in and hit the ground running right now, you know, so he can get in front of some of the issues that the legislature is currently talking about.
Sure.
Most especially the taxes. I mean, I shuddered when I heard what was going on, you know, with tax rates and all, and the small percentage that you can adjust up for going into rollback and kicking off the election. I thought, you've got to be kidding. You know, you got to sustain. So anyway,
Sure.
you know, in my opinion, I think the 70%, personally, 70% of the managers coming in, if they're in Texas and if they're local East Texas, they're probably going to be a stronger applicant, a stronger
Sure.
candidate than would be somebody that's coming in from Alaska.
Sure, fair enough. And one more. On the, I noticed that once you get down to the finalists, you use the DISC test for the
Yes, sir.
personality test.
Yes, sir.
I like those a lot. I do. I think they're fun. We use the heck out of them at work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious, would there be an opportunity to potentially give a couple others, like the Myers-Briggs or the Colby or the Enneagram, something like that are not necessarily even expensive. Some of them are even free,
Mm-hmm.
because it gives a little bit different angle, a little bit different vantage point. Because I find it kind of fun to game those things, and I see that when we have applicants for some of our higher management positions, they game the heck out of them, thinking, they're looking for a pharmacist that's going to be meticulous, so I'm going to represent myself that way. Curious if there'd be an opportunity for us to give a couple others that are not necessarily this big, costly.
Certainly. If that's something you'd like to do, prefer to do, we don't have any problem with that. We offer the DISC and the IOPT. We do both of those because both of them tell you something different about each applicant.
Sure.
But you can learn an awful lot about the candidates by looking at both of those, especially simultaneously. I'll look at one, I'll lay one on top of the other and see how they mesh. They're one of those, and you seem very well versed in this, but for those of you, if you understand them, they'll ask 40 questions, 20 of them be the same question, ask a different way, just to see, yeah, it's not really what, you know. So you can see the personality types, and it's not where you got a bear, a duck, a frog, and a cow. It's none of that stuff. It's,
Right.
you know, you actually see, are you dominant, or are you interactive? What kind of personality are you? And we like to know that kind of personality coming in. One thing you don't want in Nacogdoches is you don't want the person that's going to come in and say, well, the first thing, and I had this happen so every time I'm saying this, one of the questions that was asked is, what would you do in your first 30 days? And one of the applicants to the council said, the first thing I would do is say, I looked at your budget, you're top heavy in finance, I'd fire about half the staff. Well, needless to say, that the council was that not only did that put them off a little bit, but they just said, when the person left the room, said, you can take him off the list, said, we're not even considering him. Sharp guy, too. But unfortunately, you know, he said the wrong things. I mean, you don't walk in before you have a job and you start talking about changes you're going to make, especially in a stable city. You just don't do that. I don't think East Texas people would do that. They know better. You know, we know better. So somebody, you know, but the out-of-staters, and, you know, I hate to say, well, I won't call anything derogatory, but somebody that's north of Mason-Dixon, let's just leave it at that. That sometimes they come in and they'll say things that think that that's going to impress the council, and it's totally the opposite.
Sure.
So,
I do want to encourage you. I called all the references, and most of them were happy to get back to me, whereas I called them for everybody else too.
Oh, okay.
I heard almost nothing. Just
Oh, is
crickets
that
from
right?
there, whereas everybody called back and was super complimentary. So
Oh, good.
I appreciate that. You chose good references, so
Good.
it's good.
Good.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I just have a comment. I was surprised, you mentioned how many candidates would apply for this position.
Oh, yes, sir. You might have more.
I would be expected more, really.
You may.
Yeah. One of the things, experience has come up a lot in conversation. Would you say that experience, the more experience you have, you become less progressive?
The more experience, the less progressive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you set in your ways.
Oh, that's possible.
Yeah.
That is possible. I think you have to look at the manager. Sometimes we get comfortable as we age, and we
Right.
think, okay, I can rest on my laurels now. And then you get the other person that's got that little bit of a driving, demanding personality. Said, no, because what I found out is when I got comfortable, the organization got comfortable, and that's why I always wore a tie to work. My thought was, the day I start wearing polo shirts, well then everybody in the organization is going down one. They're going to wear T-shirts, and so if I wear a T-shirt, then I don't even want to think how they might come to work. I'm saying that as an example. I think what happens is the organization sort of is reflective of the manager. If a manager kicks back because he's been there a long time, then yeah, I think the whole organization is going to have that same laid back. But if you get somebody in there that says, I'm just not comfortable with where I am, I'm not comfortable where this city is, we're going to keep driving. What I always tried to do is, if I ever felt myself like that, I tried to find some young gun, and I just hire that young gun and bring them in and let them really, just start moving and shaking in the organization. I never really wanted to get comfortable ever, but it can happen.
And in my opinion, I'm not looking for someone that's coming here to retire.
Yeah. Right.
Speaking of experience now, is that possible that there are some department heads in other locations now could be qualified to be a city manager?
Absolutely. Yes, sir. If that
I mean,
wasn't the case,
they
I
may not
don't
know the laws right now.
Right.
Like a city manager would,
Right.
but,
Find somebody trainable. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do many of those type candidates apply?
They will if we put that in the application.
Okay.
If we put that in the brochure that we'll build. If we say, I usually like to say 5 to 7 years experience, but you just say prefer. You can say minimum 5. You want somebody at least with 5 years of experience, and somebody that's either got assistant city manager, deputy city manager, or city management experience in a similar sized town, or a department head that's got 10 to 15 years of experience
Right.
in a department where they had a lot of people, not somebody that's got 3 or 4 employees. I mean, it's kind of hard to say I can manage a city of 80 to 90 if I've managed a department of 3. But if
Right.
you manage a good-sized department and you've been there for a long time, or maybe somebody like I did, I bounced around to a lot of different departments, getting a lot of
Right.
experience.
Yeah.
That could be invaluable for your city.
Semi-finalists, what's an average of how many you present?
6 to 8.
6 to 8?
Yes, sir.
And finalists?
Finalists about 2 to 4.
2.
Sometimes the 2 will just jump right off the page, and a city will say, well, we don't need to bring in any more. But sometimes someone says, well, I kind of like this one. And you all don't have to unanimously agree on the 4. We can just say, I'd like to talk to this one, I'd like to see this one. If we bring 4 in, there's no big harm there in doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you
Yes,
for
ma'am.
coming. This was going to be my last question, but I'm going to move it up to the front. It's my most important one, but since Councilmember Bolden touched on it, of course, I wanted to hit it. I kind of had a similar concern about the focus on experience, and it also ties into one of the things that I really liked about you guys, you were my top choice, is your focus on reaching out to people from diverse backgrounds and,
Yes, ma'am.
and being inclusive
Absolutely.
in the hiring process. I think that can make our city richer, and I think it's a really positive thing. And so along the same lines, when we're talking about focusing on experience, and then also when we talked about the national candidate pool and how somebody who understands East Texas particularly is better, which I absolutely understand. But in the same vein, you could be sacrificing looking at people with diverse backgrounds. So
Sure.
my question is, how you negotiate these seemingly competing things that we want to see out of applicants, because while we want somebody who understands our community, and while we want somebody certainly who has experience, we also want somebody to come in with fresh, new, creative ideas. And I think that different life experiences sometimes lend themselves very well to things like that.
Very good. I'll share a billboard I saw with you. I came up from Castroville this morning, and I was there yesterday on a job presentation. And billboard on Highway 35 said this: "In your pursuit of looking for the perfect resume, don't overlook the perfect applicant." And that can happen. You're so busy looking for the right things on paper, you miss the right person. And we try not to do that. One of the things we'll do is, and Ron has told all of us, he said, look, even if it comes to, you think, well, I sort of like this person, I'd like to push them up a little bit more, but the experience, maybe they only got 4 years instead of 5. Or maybe they've only got, they were worked in one department as opposed to 3. He said, in our zeal to try to bring the best applicant to the city, don't discount the fact that this person may be a good one. He has encouraged us to push up as opposed to pull down and bring more to the city. He said, here's the thing, the city can make the decision no. But he said, as a recruiter, don't you make that decision no before they get to the city. I like that. And all the recruiters in the company like that same thing. We will bring you, when we bring you the applicants, the list probably will look, I'll have a lot of the ones I would push hard as a second look. I'll have the list will be a little bit larger than normal, just for that reason. We're trying to recruit up, and absolutely we're trying to be more diverse. Obviously I can't tell color by a name, I can't tell, sometimes I can't even tell gender by a name. But one of the things we will do is we'll push up, and we can always deselect or drop somebody that we think, okay, that's not exactly what we were looking for. I would rather you all tell me no than me tell you no and you say, why? I like this person. So I'd rather err on the side of caution. You can't hurt my feelings. I have been grilled by council members for 35 years, so you just can't hurt my feelings. You know, and I've heard it all and seen it all, and just about you know, in this career. So I'm going to. But one thing I did learn is at the end of the day, what you all tell me to do, that's what I'm doing. So I'll listen to you all at the end of the day. But I'm going to bring you more rather than less, just to do that very thing, Councilman. I'm going to try to make sure that we don't leave anybody out simply because we don't like what we see on paper, or we think, no, I don't think that's a good fit. They could, in fact, be a great fit.
Great.
I hope that answered it.
It did, thank
okay.
you. In the same vein, you guys got really high ratings on the reaching out to candidates from diverse backgrounds. I was wondering if you could provide me with concrete examples of how you do that besides the outreach strategies that you guys already engage in.
Yeah, usually the media is, when we send it out on our various media response, the things we get back or trigger certain things for certain people in our organization. I am not one of those people, unfortunately, but we do have people in the organization in Keller that when they're reading the Pinterest and all the other different media sources, they're zeroing in on maybe some of the comments or some of the things that were said by the people. They recognize very quickly the diversity of the people that are answering the question, and they're zeroing in on those. The only way I can do it, based on what people send to me, is that they only send me the questionnaire, the resumes, and the cover letters. It's hard for me to say, well, I can tell right now that's going to be a bad person or a good person. I can't tell that, but our media personnel can do that.
Okay.
Yeah. So the example, I'm drawing a blank right now on a specific example on how we do determine those things. I don't know how to answer that. I'm sorry.
Well, just how you reach out to, how you make it a point to reach out to, I guess, non-traditional candidates.
Oh, well, let me tell you something else we do. I apologize, the light bulb just went off. Other than the media sources, one of the things we'll ask you all before we start the advertising is where would you like to advertise? And so we'll advertise with a national state organization at no charge. We'll advertise in a national and state at no charge. We also put them on TCMA, TML, There's 7 different areas that we post the notice at no charge to the city. And then you all have the option to say, okay, we'd like to post for for example, the Texas-Oklahoma League, it's like $10. So I usually encourage cities, hey, look, for $10 additional dollars, you'll reach the entire state of Oklahoma. I like to recruit around states that touch Texas too, and you get a good crop of folks coming in from different locations. So we'll reach them that way. But then we also have the National Black Public Administrators Association. If you'd like to advertise in that, you could do that. We have the National Hispanic Organization. We can advertise in that if you'd like to. Those are an additional cost. I usually tell cities, stick with everything that we do for free, and then pick up the little smaller one, the $10 one. If you'd like to advertise in the others, we can certainly do that. That's an add-on fee. But we're going to reach, one of the reasons if somebody says, well, why don't you recommend that? The only reason I wouldn't recommend it, I'm going to reach those same people in all the advertisements that we are going to do at no charge. But if you specifically want something advertised, we will do it.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I've got just 2 more for you.
Sure.
Will we have the opportunity to discuss with you, and also how does it work, whether in a group or each of us individually, to discuss with you the specific things that we're looking for in a city manager besides the obvious?
Oh, yes, ma'am. In fact, that's one of the things we want to do. When I send you I'll send you a piece of paper, and it'll have probably 20 or 30 different questions on it. Population, all the regular stuff that come with putting a brochure together. And then you all will have an opportunity to fill in, hey, and here's what we want specifically. We're looking for somebody with X years of experience. We're looking for somebody that's been specifically, knows some economic development. We're looking for people who have some downtown development experience. I'm looking for somebody that's heavy in planning. You will be able to tell us all that. The way you all get involved is whoever my point person is, my contact person is, I'll build that piece of paper, that document, and then from that we'll put together a little mock, what I call a first run on a brochure. I send that back to you, and you all take that all apart. Cut it up, dissect it, chop it, add, subtract. The first thing we send back to you is not the thing that's going out. The first thing we send back to you is where it starts. And you all cut it up, chop it up, tell me exactly how you want it. We'll send it back up to Keller. They'll fix it back up, because we're also going to need pictures. And so we'll get all the pictures in the right place, get all the verbiage in the right place, send it back to you again. Once I get all your comments, we'll send it back to you again for a final review. And then you all say, that's exactly how I wanted it. And once I get confirmation that it's a go, then we post. We will not post until we hear from you.
Okay.
But every one of you will have that opportunity, yes.
And I think that also there are some things that you put in a brochure to recruit people, but then there are also other things that you might not put on there, but that we want you to know as you're going through
Yes.
the process. And so my question is, I'm assuming we will have an opportunity to be able to relay that information to you. So not just the, black and white, how many people will, that kind of stuff, but also other things that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. In fact, what I'd suggest is, as we're putting that brochure together, once we get that brochure complete, if there are things you think, you know what, I didn't want this in the brochure, but I want the applicants to know this, tell me what that is. And each applicant for each person that applies, when I'm visiting with them, I will explain to them, and listen, by the way, here's something else that Nacogdoches is looking for. They want you specifically to be, whatever it is, they
Right.
want a credentialed manager, whatever it is. You just say they're looking for somebody that's got this particular qualification or this particular strength, whatever that would be. I will certainly make sure they all know that, yes.
Great.
Mhm.
Last one, because that one was a follow-up. so
That's
it didn't
okay.
count. We narrow the list from the semi-finalists to the finalists.
Correct.
Okay.
We do not, SGR, any reputable company should not be making your manager's decision. You all should be making the manager's decision. We're bringing you the applicants that have been screened and vetted, and we'll guarantee the applicant that you hire. So if in 18 months, if we recommend somebody, and within 18 months down the road it just doesn't work out, or they decide, you know what, this is a great springboard for me, I'm going to the next city, well, we recommended the person, they're gone, we're doing your search again at no cost.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the problem sitting in the corner over here is
The
everyone asks
all
me
the best
questions for
questions.
me in advance, so I never really got to. It doesn't really matter as long as the questions are asked.
I'll start with you next time, next week.
It's okay. I'm not too picky as long as they're being asked. I guess just out of curiosity, knowing what you know at this point about Nacogdoches, and what you perceive our needs to be, what would be your top three, just again out of curiosity, what would you put as your top three priorities for a potential candidate?
Well, it's easy to ask a seasoned manager what he thinks, because I'm telling you, finance, to me, the things that are most important, and I'll give you my perspective based on my experience, and I can't imagine any city that wouldn't want to manage that. You don't have to be a financial, a CPA, but you need to understand finance. And balancing a checkbook and government finance is not the same thing. And you all know that.
True.
But you need to come in and you need to know finance. You need to know a little bit about city planning. In my opinion, I think you ought to have some idea of where your city's going from a growth perspective. Not that you had to be a planner. I wasn't a planner. My background was not in planning. It was one of the three departments that I never had. I didn't have planning, I didn't have fire, I didn't have police. But I was in every other department in the city of Tyler. So you don't have to be a planner to know planning, but you've got to understand the terminology of planning. So when somebody comes in and you're going to have a lot of people come in here and say, bring you maybe some opportunity for some, wonderful, either a multifamily opportunity that comes to the city, or perhaps they're going to bring some box company in here, who knows, whatever it's going to be. You need to know that you're talking to somebody that can understand it, and the person coming in and making all those comments, your manager needs to understand the terminology. So you need to know finance, you need to know something about planning, and then I think you need to know your city. The downtown economic development, I think you need to know a little bit about what's going on downtown. I think you want somebody that's got a little bit of experience in those kind of things, as well as / economic development. So I think downtown / economic development, planning, and finance. If I have somebody who comes in and they've got strong backgrounds in those areas, as Councilman mentioned, just because you weren't a manager, if you've got a strong background in some of those areas, I can come in and I can train you in some other things. There's a lot of things right here in town. The thing that you all are blessed with at SFA is you've got your credentialed management program offered right here. So if you don't hire somebody that's a CPM, they can become a CPM right here without ever leaving the city. That is a plus. I'm recruiting for so many cities that they're sending them here, to get their CPM. So that's a plus. So if a manager comes in that doesn't have that, just say, okay, but I want you to get it within a year. Show me your commitment. I want you to sign up, enroll, and I want you to go get your CPM in 12 months. I want you to do that. And based on your background and what you're bringing in, and you go get your credential, that to me is a real plus. I think it would be something that you could hang your hats on. So anyway, those would be
Thank
my
you.
three.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Yeah.
I assume your placement is really high during this process, so that you rarely have to resort to having an interim?
We've done it both ways. We're the time frame, the 12 to 14 week time frame, if a city is operating with an interim manager or somebody that is able to hold things in place without somebody, then yes, we can get through. We'll get through the process very quickly. If you want an interim, of course, that's one of the things we also provide is interim services. So we've got the opportunity to provide an interim manager while we're searching, or we can just conduct the search if the city's doing fine without one, however the cities want to do that.
Well,
If
I'm
that was
sure-
your question, I hope.
Yeah, and you had meant, you opened with the time frame.
Yes, ma'am.
And possibly having some scheduling obstacles. And
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
and I'm sure it all depends also on how quickly you get our responses back from the information that you are asking from us, which I know we will do our best to be vigilant in getting that taken care of. Is there anything else after hearing some of our questions and comments you would like to add?
Oh, I'm excited
before
about
we
working with
finish.
you. One of the things I see is, you guys are, I didn't realize how, and I will say this in a positive way, you're the youngest, most vibrant city council I've dealt with in years. And surely, if this goes public, some of these, including you, Councilman. But, I mean, just because we're old doesn't mean we're still not young, and young ideas. And I'm saying I've dealt with a lot, and they're stuck when they talk about you don't want to hire a manager that's stuck in the mud. There are some councils that are stuck in the mud. I don't see a spinning wheel in anyone up there on the dais. So, I think the managers coming in are going to be very glad and have a wonderful opportunity to work with a council like you all. So, and I'm not just telling you that. I'm just telling you I'd tell you if you weren't hitting on all cylinders, I'd say that too. I'm at that point in my life where it just rolls out of my mouth now. So, but anyway, you guys are, it's going to be very exciting for a potential manager to come in and work with you all. They'll be very blessed to have this opportunity. I don't sense any tension, animosity, and I feel that sometimes where somebody's just got to feel like because they were last, they feel like they've got to talk longest or loudest. And I don't see that here. I see a group that wants to work together. Every one of you, and I apologize for not getting an opportunity to shake your hand before the meeting, but every one of you came up to me and I thought, wow, I just don't have that warmth, that normally when I walk in, it's us against us, and I don't feel that here at all. So I think the next manager coming in is going to feel that same thing that I felt.
Great. Well, thank you very
Yes,
much.
pleasure.
Appreciate you, Mr.
Would you like me to
Turner.
leave while you guys
No.
talk?
You can stay. It's not a problem. Actually, if the chair would entertain a motion for approval to hire SGR, and then we can have further discussion after, if we'd like to, after a motion and a second.
Sure.
I'll move. Or-
No, go right
Jay,
ahead.
you go ahead. You went
Yes,
last.
let Jay.
I'll second.
I will second your motion.
Too much
Move
politeness.
to approve the contract with SGR.
And I will second that.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we select SGR as our firm to perform the executive search and recruiting services for the position of city manager. So how about any comment you want to make before we take a vote?
Not any particular comments.
Okay.
I'm very excited about the process. I feel very fortunate to be here at this time because it is such a crucial thing at what I think could be a very pivotal time for our city, and I feel very lucky to be involved in this process. I really do.
Terrific. Anything else? Okay. How about you?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Same.
Okay. Well, this is an experience that none of us have ever had. We've never hired a city manager, so it is wonderful to have been able to have a choice to select a company that has this experience, and excited about how much we're going to learn from it and for our city. So I think that's great. So all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. And our meeting is adjourned.